attitude, your ideas and a strong will. Cause we got this country to build. Tell you? First we got to build a strong foundation. That means we got to upgrade we education. Cause we are certainly...
It's the Vin Abbott Show with news, views, and interviews. The music in the mix on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Kankadi Radio.
Every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. you will hear a old-time story by Gene Abbott on
Bayhillnews.net.
Bayhillnews Network presents Inside Health, a 30-minute program in which we explore the human body and functions. We'll share real-life stories and the latest in medical science as we look at related diseases, conditions, and determinants of health that affect quality of life. So join me, Vin Abbott, on Wednesday evenings from 8:30 for Inside Health on Bayhillnews Net, also on KankadiRadio.info. Everyone, welcome to this edition of Inside Health. Trust all is well with you and yours. Thanks for allowing us into your space at this time, and it's greatly, greatly appreciated. Yes, to our friends on St. Vincent and the Grenadines there in the Southern Caribbean, with our Chief Engineer Monty Kippett and his team there at Bayhillnews Network. And the time is 7:33 here in Toronto. We are 1 hour behind you. It's 8:33 there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A bit earlier than usual. Originally the program was scheduled to start at 8:30 because of work commitments and all of that. But I'm with you earlier this evening because I'm not really feeling that well. I have some allergic reactions that I'm dealing with. Some under some medication. But I'm with you. I'm so happy to be with you. Let me say again, good evening to all our friends in the Caribbean, particularly the Northern Caribbean. Our friends up there in Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, BVI and elsewhere, Bermuda and elsewhere, following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. We are thinking about you. We have been in touch with friends there in the Caribbean and friends, here in Toronto as regards what's happening there, in especially Jamaica. We are thinking about you, my friends. Well, Inside Health is a radio magazine health information program heard on KankadiRadio.info and Bayhillnews Network simultaneously. On Wednesday evenings, yes, our chief engineer, like we said a while ago, is Monty Kippett at Bayhillnews Network on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I am your host, Vin Abbott, in the studio of Kankadi Radio, Toronto, Canada. Good evening to all our friends here in Canada, our friends in UK. Many of them are some of them are still up. We are 1 hour behind now, so it should be like 11:35 thereabout in UK. Denise, Brayton, and others, good evening to you. My brother Dennis and others, good evening to you. Our friends in US of A, good evening to you as well. Happy to have you for our company. Inside Health takes a look at the human body, the different parts, functions, conditions, and diseases that affect performance. We also take a look at strategies, possible solutions. We pay close attention to the determinants of health, all those factors with which we were born, grow, live, age. Friends, and this is an important line, and this is an important position that we take here on this program. We take a look at the determinants of health, all those factors with which we were born, grow, live, age, and so on. It's not about medical services and diseases only. There are many factors that impact health and well-being. beyond medicines, beyond medical services and all. The day-to-day stuff, what we eat, social services, safety and security. We'll be getting into that in this week's edition. All those factors, socialization, the impact of social media, economics, money, yes, all those factors, literacy, gender, age, all those factors affect health and well-being. Put another way, and this expression is used a lot on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we take a holistic, we take a wholesome look. I prefer to say we believe in the functional approach, all those factors that help us to function well on a daily basis. It's not all about lifespan, how long we live. It's really about health span, how healthy we are as we go along life. I often tell this story, and it's real. It's a lived experience of a friend, a close friend, who at 40 got cut down with complications related to diabetes. Diabetes being in the family, it was in the family, and later on he lost some vision. He developed hypertension. He lost a limb. He had some kidney problems. He had to go through diabetes on a weekly basis for like 2 or 3 times per week. Eventually died at 60 odd. You know, a brother who was strong and healthy in the earlier years. He was, well, according to the lifespan approach, he should have lived into 70, 80. He lived until, I think, 62 years of age, but the last 22 decades of his life were not healthy. He died, and when one should die in dignity, he had a host of problems. So this is so important. We often think, oh, well, we have lifespan up and men 72, women 76. What is important is the health span. And I can take you through paces to show where even though we get through the first 20, 30 years of life, probably as for example, as a Black people, the latter portion, after 20, 20, 25, 30, the lifespan decreases in comparison to, say, Caucasians or white people and other races. This is an important point. This is why the determinants of health, those factors are important for us to really pay attention to, not only pay attention, but do something about the gender issues, the age issues, the financial issues, poverty-related issues, literacy, education issues, security, and all those things. Take you back to St. Vincent, for example. Look how many young people, so far this year, 34 persons have been killed, murdered, according to records. We had 50 odd last year. Think about it, for a population of just around 100,000 persons. That when I went on this program, we talk about determinants of health, we mean what it means. We say what it means. All those factors that affect health and well-being. It's not sufficient to say we have so many clinics or we have so many hospitals and all of that. We want to help enhance the health span, the health status of our people. And all those factors should be taken into consideration. Anyway, off script, but important. We do not diagnose nor prescribe. We, however, may refer as needed. Once again, thanks for joining us on this week's edition of the program. And we're going to continue with frequently asked questions on diabetes. And we're going to get into a wee bit of harmony. Yes? The issue of conflict resolution at this time of year on St. Vincent and the Grenadines during the election season. And there was a story that I received as regards something that happened, and an incident that occurred on St. Vincent and the Grenadines a week or so ago. I want to address that and deal with some possible strategies for solutions. Again, friends, thank you for being there. And just again, be reminded, I'm struggling a wee bit here with some allergic type symptoms, but I'm with you. Happy to be with you. Hope you're well, Monty, as well, and all our listeners on Kankadi Radio. So last week we started talking about straight answers to common diabetes questions based on the Canada's Complete Diabetes Guide for Type 2 Diabetes, and by Karen Graham, RD, CDE, Certified Diabetes Educator. Like I said, this book I got when I attended a session, yes, dealing with diabetes and all of that in relation to work. And I won a pop-up quiz. And so I'm just referencing some material from that book and some questions that have been asked over the years as a health educator, a nurse, a counselor, therapist, and more. And also on a personal level, on a day-to-day basis, interacting with friends and colleagues here in Canada and on homeland, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, also friends from St. Lucia, Antigua, St. Croix, yeah, in the U.S. Virgin Islands and elsewhere, Boston as well. The span is great here on Kankadi Radio and Bayhillnews Network. So we left off last week, I think, with the question, will I lose my leg like my grandmother did? So let's go to another question that is often asked. Do I have to stop smoking? Now, again, we're just throwing out the questions and possible solutions, answers. We'll get into more details, like we said. We'll be dealing with diabetes type 2 for the rest of the year. And probably on from time to time, we'll just drop in with something on diabetes. But we want to focus on this moving forward. And I'm thinking about the holidays coming up, Christmas and all of that, when people will be getting into partying and eating galore, excesses and all of that. So I want to sort of preempt that kind of atmosphere and those behaviors, especially in the interest of our listeners. So, another question that is often asked. Do I have to stop smoking? This is a very good question, my friends. The suggestion here is to please consider quitting. Of course, we're not here to impose on your values and all of that. But from a health standpoint, quality of life standpoint, please consider it. And if you want to change, we have some suggestions we can offer you, to be honest with you, as regards quitting smoking. That's up to you. Again, you can certainly reach us on Kankadi Radio and Bayhillnews Network. We'll be happy, really, really happy to share some information with you, on the issue of quitting smoking. So if you want to reach us, you can reach us at Kankadi Radio at 416-989-4623, or you can reach Bayhillnews Network at 784-529-8340. We'll be happy, really happy to share some information with you as regards possible strategies for quitting smoking. Or you can send us an email at kankadi.radio@gmail.com. I'll be happy to respond to your questions or concerns in that regard. So, when you have diabetes and you smoke, you're more likely to get complications than if you didn't smoke. This would include gum disease, foot amputation, heart attack, kidney problems, or blindness. And we'll address that some more. Another question that is often asked, and I have this challenge here in Toronto, because where I work, ever so often we go out to eat, or folks like to go out to eat in restaurants and things like that on holidays and so on. And I have a problem with that because I personally do not, I don't eat meat. I use like some fish, like small fish allergy, use like sardines and so on. I don't use chicken, meat, whatever. I don't use white rice. I avoid white bread, anything that is processed white and so on. and that has been since 1979. And I don't know how long I'll live on Earth, but for me, it's the quality of life, like we spoke about earlier on, the quality of health, your health status, your health, your span. And for me, I'm grateful to God. So far, so good. So far, so good. But again, that's just me. So the issue of eating at restaurants is an important one for me. Let me tell you why. Yes, let me tell you why. Of course, you can eat in restaurants. Who are we to stop you or to say no to that? Getting out of the house with the family, your spouse, or some friends, and hanging out now and again, maybe it won't hurt you. But if it's going to be ongoing, I would suggest to you that would be a challenge. Restaurant meals tend to be high in fat, number one, sugar, number two, and salt. So try to order less and choose healthier meal choices. Well, the problem with that, when you go to restaurants, they don't tell you, you don't see on the menu, like on the menu, the ingredients in terms of salt and sugar and all of that. You don't. You simply don't. So how can you dictate that? How can you go and say, don't put this, don't put that, when very often the meals are pre-prepared? Most times. Very often. Yeah, not all the time. So limiting how often you eat in restaurants and switching to more homemade meals is a positive step. Is the best way to go. There's nothing like a good home meal, inviting friends across, family across, enjoying your spouse, whether the male or whoever is good at cooking who wants to prepare. Why not? But it's a big challenge. It's a big, big challenge. And I can tell you that based on lived experiences. I'm very, very careful. And you don't know. Someone like me, I'm very cautious. I don't know what is happening behind in the kitchen. Think about it, my friends. Another question is often asked, can I drink alcohol? Can I still drink alcohol? The answer to that is yes. There may be some benefits to drinking in moderation. And again, that is up in the air. But there are also reasons not to drink or to drink less. Alcohol has unwanted calories, so it can make weight loss difficult. Also, if you take insulin or diabetes pills, you will need to take some precautions so you can drink safely. That's again a discussion. I will encourage you to have a discussion with your doctor because alcohol is really energy, calories you pack on. You drink beers and you often hear people talk about beer belly and them kind of things there and so on. But just think about that and have a conversation with your doctor, your pharmacist, or whoever you have in your corner from a health standpoint. And here's another question. I think this we can piggyback on what we just talked about. Can I eat in a restaurant? How will diabetes affect the cooking I do for my family? And this is an important question for me. Now, what are the folks saying? Diabetes tends to run in families. Fact number one. So you are still at a greater risk for diabetes. It's good if you all eat the same healthy way, smaller portions and less fatty and sugary foods. If you gradually make small changes to your cooking, your family may not even notice any difference. Experiment with new recipes, new flavors, herbs and spices, and things like that. And friends, this is something that I've lamented for years and something that I've been advancing for years. The way a person's living with diabetes eats is the same way we all should eat, basically. And I use the word should there advisedly. I should say the way we all are encouraged to eat. You know, that's the way we are encouraging it to be. You know, there's nothing wrong in just cooking, you know, the same pot from the same pot. And if you want to add salt, you can add a little bit rather than pouring salt in the pot for everybody. Just cook the pot bland with herbs and spices and all of that. And if folks want a little bit more salt, they can add the salt for themselves, especially if they're not living with diabetes. But to me, the overarching issue here, goal here should be, especially if you're black and you are predisposed, you are, you're vulnerable to diabetes, perhaps you should get into the habit of just cooking bland meals with herbs and add all of that as a family from the same pot we can take and add a little bit as we go along. That is my suggestion. What do you think? Another question that is often asked is diabetes going to make me feel sick? Now, friends, when your blood, based on reports, when your blood sugar is high, you are likely to feel tired and unwell. When your blood sugar improves and you begin to exercise and eat better, you may feel better than you ever felt. Diabetes may be your reason to quit smoking. After this, you'll start to feeling younger, my friends. That's a suggestion in relation to that question. Let's take another question before we get into conflict resolution, harmony, things like that. We'll take a couple more actually. Is diabetes going to shorten my life? Statistics show, figures show that people with diabetes overall have a shorter life, but you can change your lifestyle with moderate daily exercise and weight loss and live a longer life. You've said this before, we are sort of probably repeating ad nauseum. It's all about lifestyle, making small changes with your diet, exercise, and so on. And finally, will I have to prick my finger for blood every day? And I know this is an issue for many persons who are living with diabetes, particularly diabetes type 1. No, you don't have to, not necessarily. The suggestion here is for persons living with diabetes to talk to your doctor or your diabetes educator. You may find actually with a little on the blood sugar testing at home and rely on regular blood tests recommended by your doctor. For others, daily blood sugar testing is helpful in managing their blood sugar, especially if they are on insulin or at risk for low blood sugar. And the thing about pricking, I know this has been the traditional thing, the traditional way of testing for your glucose level, your blood sugar level, the pricking, and a lot of people don't like that. I remember when I got into nursing in 1979, before that, I hated the sight of blood, and I remember the first day I had on the ward at the Kingstown General Hospital, I saw blood and I freaked out. The supervisor then, the nurse in charge then allowed me to get out. Oh my goodness, now it's a different story, right? But, I understand that. And it's a pain. Yeah, it can be inconvenient. It's about your health. Well, there are several other devices you can use to check your blood sugar levels and all of that on a daily basis. And then you can talk to your doctor about them. And the thing about it, though, based on conversations I have had, and not from me, but for this program to educate our listeners and so on. And they're suggesting basically that the best way, the most accurate way is to really use the device, the pricking procedure. The other devices you can have, but according to the conversations I've had with pharmacists and others, some of those other devices are not as accurate as using the device in which your glucose monitor, as it is called, to measure your glucose level. That's the way it is, my friends, and I would suggest that to you, perhaps more importantly, to have a conversation with your doctor, your nutritionist, your naturopathic doctor, whoever you have in your corner, helping you to stay well, despite the fact that you are living with diabetes. You're not diabetic, you're living with diabetes, my friends. So uh, think about that. Talk to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist, talk to your dietitian or your diabetes educator, naturopathic doctor, whoever you have in your corner, helping you to stay well living with diabetes. Friends, we'll stay there as regards diabetes tonight. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about living in harmony. Thank you, Monty. We'll be back on the other
Welcome
side.
to this afternoon's program. This is Dr. Stan Horn, Doctor of Natural Medicine with a Word of Health. Good day, and how in the world are you? Today's word is cold hands and feet. Cold hands and feet are a common occurrence, especially in colder climates. With the slightest change in temperature, poor blood circulation in the hands and feet can occur, or it could be worse. For example, Raynaud's disease, that's RAYNAUD', Raynaud's disease. In people with Raynaud's disease, the fingers and the toes turn white, or they may take a bluish tinge as they get colder. Later on, after they warmed up, they turn red because of the blood rushing back into the fingers and toes. They'll throb for a few minutes, even hours. Hotter is healthier. People who consume lots of hot spices in their cooking understand the preventive and curative benefits of hot spices. No longer is hot spicy food blamed for such conditions as ulcers or other gastric problems. In fact, the opposite is true. Yes, intestinal sores and lesions may be sensitive to hot spices. Therefore, you would need to correct any underlying problem before consuming hot spices. One British study found that hot peppers actually boost metabolism and burn extra calories. Losing any extra pounds supports good health. It also reduces your risk for adult onset diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and certain cancers. This is important for people with a low functioning thyroid and especially those susceptible to cold. Also, losing the extra pounds supports the lowering of triglycerides levels and improves digestion. Here's a recommendation for cold hands and feet. Cayenne pepper. When it's cold, cayenne pepper powder can be used both topically and internally. Cayenne pepper opens the smaller blood vessels, the capillaries at the surface of the skin, producing an immediate sensation of heat. In 15 minutes or so, the oil-friendly components of cayenne pepper go deeper into the tissues, generating warmth for hours. Capsaicin, that's CAPSAICIN. Capsaicin is the source of the heat in hot peppers. It's a plant compound found in jalapeno peppers, chili peppers, Scotch bonnet, and red peppers. The capsicum compound in peppers is a natural blood thinner, which helps to prevent the formation of dangerous clots, blood clots. This property was first noticed in people who consume large amounts of hot peppers and who incidentally also had a lower incidence of blood clots. The researchers looked at the medical records of people who regularly consumed hot spicy foods and found that those people with a high consumption of red peppers had a much lower incidence of blood clotting diseases. The researchers concluded that capsaicin possesses properties that enables it to break down blood clots. New research is now focused on capsaicin's ability to also act as an anti-inflammatory agent in pain relief. You've been listening to A Word of Health with me, Dr. Stan Horn, Doctor of Natural Medicine. Do join me again when I bring you yet another segment of A Word of Health. Thank you for listening.
Bayhillnews Network presents Inside Health, 30-minute program in which
which we explore the human body and functions. We'll share real-life stories and the latest in medical science as we look at related diseases, conditions, and determinants of health that affect quality of life. So join me, Ben Abbott, on Wednesday evenings from 8:30 for Inside Health on Bayhillnews Net, also on KincadiRadio.info.
Well, welcome back to Inside Health, this week's edition. Started a bit earlier today because I'm not really feeling well, dealing with some allergic symptoms, but I'm under some medication. But I'm okay, getting through. It's 8:02 in the studio of Kincadi Radio, and it's 9:02 in the studio of Bayhillnews Network on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So happy to hear my good brother, my good friend, Dr. Stan Horn there with it. You know, what in health are you doing? Good evening to you, Dr. Stan. Welcome to Bayhillnews Network. Welcome to the platform. Good evening to my good colleague from way back when on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Stan's wife, Valerie Horn. Yes, health educator extraordinaire out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you, Monty, for sharing that piece on Inside Health with Dr. Stan Horn. Friends, elections are on in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That is the campaign 2025 is on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to do this piece because of a post I got from my bond sister there in New York about a young lady on St. Vincent and the Grenadines being assaulted physically, reportedly for simply saying, while using the words NDP. And I got the photo, the video, and all of that. And it was confirmed that this incident occurred about a week ago or so. And I want to delve into this because tonight I really wanted to talk about physical activity in keeping with diabetes. But I have chosen to do this. And that's the thing. We have the capacity to change things in media on this program, the Bayhillnews Network and Kincadi Radio. Now, I remember in February 1994, when I was a candidate on the NDP's ticket, that a rock was thrown at us in the Connery area on the north side of the bridge at that Connery. And the rock, I sent a photo to Monty. He's free to share it. A good sized rock. It was thrown at us during a meeting there. It fell between Carly Duggan and myself, dropped on the bed of the truck. I think P.R. Campbell, Going to the Great Beyond, was the MC who was chairing the meeting the night. And we got the rock. A few years later, the pitcher, rock, reportedly was died as a result of some bacchanal with him and some villager. Nothing to do with what happened in 1994. When I saw that post, it was sort of re-traumatizing. What could have happened had this called Carlisle or myself or anybody on the platform, all in the name of politics, And it was around that same time, following the elections in 1994. That was in February. I left St. Vincent, I think it was Labor Day, August, for back to Boston to do some studies and work and, move forward with my life. But I remember sort of contemplating, reflecting on the experiences during the campaign, before the campaign, during the campaign, and post the campaign, and for years. I remember how many persons I visited during the campaign. I had 1 month to campaign. I made the decision in December to contest the elections. Based on discussions with my family, I made that decision. And because it wasn't something I was contemplating. And campaigned for 1 month. And I crisscrossed the entire constituency there in North Central Windward. Georgetown, it was then Carroll, Spring Village, Georgetown, Brownstown, down to Chester, Byra Hill, Byra Flat, Gauss, Mount Williams, down the road, Connery, Bellevue, Park Hill, South Rivers, and part of Montgrennan on the north side of the Anglican Church there at Montgrennan for 1 month. And I visited many persons in their homes, on the streets. And I had many takeaways, many experiences. And one of them that has stuck with me for years, and it's dear to my heart. Many of the persons who came out and campaigned with me at rallies and meetings and things like that, who shouted and all of that for me, when I visited with them at their homes and so on, these are persons you see in the street, and okay, and perhaps I was naive. You're wondering what this has to do with health. Remember, health determinants of health, right? The determinants of health. Remember that, right? It's not just about medical services, conditions and diseases and all of that. Living conditions, yes, we're talking about those. Safety, food, money, poverty, all those issues affect quality of life, affect health care, affect health status, well-being. And I was most surprised at the conditions under which many folks were living. These folks were out there shouting their bloody heads off for politicians. They were living under very trying, very substandard, marginalized conditions. But yet they were there shouting their heads off for a party or one individual, with the expectation that when folks go there, they will not turn their backs on them. Friends, I've lived long enough to see that many folks who shouted, who are there fighting, not physically, and well, in this case, in what happened to me in 1994, some folks are fighting, and we know of many violent activities that have taken place. I'll tell you about one. Were disappointed. Many folks were disappointed. Several of the politicians actually turned their backs on these people. That bothers me. It's something that I don't adhere to. I have a serious problem when politicians go out there and ask for the people's votes to get them into office when these politicians, and I'm talking generally here, I'm not, basically turn their backs on people when they become ungrateful, using the power of their offices and the power of the purse, neglecting the people who are there for them, who elected them to serve them. I have a serious problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. And I continue to look at it. I will never, ever support anyone politically with an experience of neglecting the people. I will never, ever. That's a personal view. It's all based on determinants of health, nothing else. I don't dislike people. I don't hate people. It's not in my DNA. I wasn't brought up that way by my parents, Ray and Amy Abbott, and the Rosses and Abbotts, Sutherlands and others. But I have a serious problem with that. Serious problem with that. So when I saw that post of that young lady, Dianza Lewis, I think her name is, with a wound across her temple almost, her head, accordingly, reportedly for saying the word or saying NDP, I have a problem with that. With our people. With our people. How in God's name can you hurt another person for exercising his or her rights? How can you do that? Especially when we have a legacy, a history of politicians turning their backs on us. How can you do that to your brothers and sisters? It bothers me. It bothers me. I, I remember when I was in St. Croix around some years ago, a few years ago, elections were being held there, gubernatorial elections, Roach versus Branch. I remember I went on polling day with my cousin Renald de Souza, gone to the great beyond, and my niece Rivka to a polling station to vote. And there you had Bryant from one party, his folks, and Roach, his folks, outside the polling station on the road. Up and down, music galore, drinks pouring left, right, and center. And people were just hugging each other, up and down, chanting and carrying on. But they were doing that in love and having fun, election day. No violence. Absolutely no violence. Next day after elections, St. Croix returned to normal business. In all of this, I have some hope, a glimmer of hope. I saw a glimpse of it. Somebody posted something with something happening down there in the North Leeward constituency, where two ladies were jamming together, hugging and carrying on, one in red, one in yellow, and they were having a fun time. Why can't it be like that? You have your right to vote for whom you want to vote. He or she has his or her right to vote for his or her party or his candidate. It's ridiculous, for us to really be fighting each other, hurting each other, killing each other in the name of politics. Come on, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So this program, again, against the background of the determinants of health, safety, and security, and all of that, the encouragement here is for us to let go of the violence. I attended a workshop yesterday on conflict resolution, and I have a book in my hand here, Cultivating Harmony, Navigating Our Complex World Through Mindfulness and Emotional Regulation. And I have permission to speak to some of the issues in this book by the author, Stefan Lister. And he autographed the book from me, Vincent Rispis Finem, meaning keep the end in view. Cheers, Steve, September 2025. And it's all about harmony, oneness, our people. So I want to refer to some of the material from this book, from Stefan Lister. It talks about harmony, being present. And he says, Zabat-Zinn defines mindfulness as follows. I'm reading here, I'm quoting here. The awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, not judgmentally. It is the art and practice of being in the here and now, being in this present moment. Friends, get into the present moment. You have brothers and sisters. I grew up in a family where on one side you had people supporting Labour, you had on the other side people supporting PPP, Joshua Keto, and all of that. In my neighborhood, there in Georgetown. After elections, we didn't care. I'm encouraging us to really get into some mindfulness. Let's dig deep, my friends. I challenge you to do that. Because beyond Zabat's definition, mindfulness also includes self-regulation of attention with an attitude of curiosity, openness, and acceptance. We are in the election season, campaigning season. One party is going to win. One party is going to win. The expectation is that that party will serve all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, all of us. Mindfulness suggests to us that it's the ability to be continuously focused on what we are doing as it is being done and being fully aware that I'm doing this now. This is how I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. Think about that. Can you think about that? If somebody says to you, I'm voting NDP, think about what you're thinking. Are you going to hurt that person because that person says I'm NDP? Or vice versa, if somebody says I'm ULP, are you going to hurt that person for saying that? Think about it, my friends. It is about, for a moment, to breathe, count to 10, and recognize it is about noticing what is happening internally in your body and mind, in your thoughts, and in your external environment from moment to moment. The easy and the difficult. It might be easy for you to get angry and riled up and all of that and cuss and fight. It might be more difficult for you to just walk away and just think, hey, that person has the right to vote or to support whoever he or she wants. It might be painful, but it's that person's right. It might be joyful to see somebody supporting the party you support. That's okay. It is really like building a muscle to be present and awake in your life. Friends, the encouragement here is to be awake, to be conscious, to be aware that we are one people. We have a right to support whom we want to support. It doesn't give you the right to physically assault anyone because he or she doesn't support your party or your views politically. It doesn't make any sense. I'll end with this tonight, Monty. From another book, One, The Art and Practice of Conscious Leadership by Lance Secretan, that is. And this is a book that also I attended continued education is so important to create awareness. I attended a workshop on team building, a retreat with a former workplace. I got this book from him. To Vincent and the Bayview Community Services, thanks much. Keep the soul. Friends, keep your soul. Don't give your soul because of the atmosphere that exists now during the election campaign on St. Vincent and Grenadines. I'll read just a piece from this book for you tonight. The new imperative of oneness. We are one Vincentian people. We have a right to support whom we want to support politically. But at the end of the day, we are one people. This message is for all of us, politicians and voters, the electorates and all. I'll read. We have been living with an illusion that we are separate. Let me repeat that. We have been living with an illusion that we are separate. Whenever we experience pain or sadness, it is because we have become separated from what? Our home we love. And whenever we are inspired or joyful, it is because we are one with what? Our home we love. All human challenges and successes can be explained through this awareness. When we're in love with someone, it is as if we are one, two souls, one flame. That is because we are. You remember Mother Teresa? Here are some words during tonight's program. If we have no peace, It is because we have forgotten we belong to each other. Words of Mother Teresa. If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten we belong to each other. Mother Teresa. Friends, today is what? The 5th of November. 22 more days to go before elections, general elections on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are one people, one Vinci. And if we believe that, we should treat each other with respect from top to bottom. Violence has no place in the elections. Disrespect has no place. You go to the polls, you vote for whom you want, review the whatever, the manifestos, the programs, and you decide in the quiet of your heart. Say a prayer, ask God to guide you. But to go and hurt another Vincentian because he or she openly expresses his or her support for one party or another is despicable. It's awful. Again, landscape all of this against the determinants of health, safety, security, social services, and more. We are one Vinci. Think about that, my friends. Friends, at that note, we end this week's program, the Inside Health program, right here on Kankadi Radio and Bayhillnews Network. Thank you, Monty, for being there. Thank you, listeners, for being there. We hope to join you next week for another Elaborate show. Whatever you do, stay safe. Hey, man, we are one people. Forget all the nonsense of violence and more. Go out and support the party of your choice, the candidate of your choice. Yes, Monty, Vincentians, Caribbean people, be gone.
Bayhillnews Network presents Inside Health, 30-minute program in which we explore the human body and functions. We'll share real-life stories and the latest in medical science as we look at related diseases, conditions, and determinants of health that affect quality of life. So join me